Hi everyone, welcome to Educon community. So this will be our sixth lecture for the Java interview series. So today we will discuss about the flow control. So first of all, what are control flow statements? So basically, control flow statements are the statements which are used for decision making, looping, changing the control flow of a program on a particular case. Next, explain the if-else statement. Explain how if else changes the control flow of a program. So if then, so if then here we will pass boolean arguments and then we will write code to execute if condition will return true if it will be satisfied. Okay, so like this is the exercise class and main method. I have taken the value as 25 and putting the condition, like we are checking the condition value is less than equals to 30 or not. Yes, value 25 is less than 30, so it will be true, right? So as it will be satisfied, that's why it will enter in the inside the if block. Okay, and else clause is optional. So this is the exercise class, then main method value is 100. So if value less than equals to 30, as value is 100 here, so if condition will not be satisfied, so it will go inside the else block and else block will be executed, right? Next, what if we have more than one or two conditions in program? Do we need to write if clause again and again? So if there will be multiple conditions, then first of all, after taking the value, uh, we will check the if condition, and if there will be multiple conditions, we will put else if, right? So first condition we are checking, right? Value is greater than 30 and value is less than equals to 50 or not. So if it will be satisfied, then this block will be executed. You know, right here value is 50, and as this value 50 is greater than 30, which is true, and 50 also less than equals to 50 means equals 50 is also satisfied. So both the conditions will be satisfied here. So inside this else if block, it will be executed. Okay, and then again else if there will be any other condition, and next else. So else block will be at last. So note that in Java, if else statement can only have Boolean expressions as conditions. Okay, so there is a Boolean value a equals to true, b equals to false. Can we put a equals to b condition in if block? So Boolean a equals to true, Boolean b equals to false. We are checking a and b are a and b are equals or not. So if it will be equals, then it will print blank here. So in this way, we are just checking this. But these two are not same, right? One is true, one is false. So this condition will not be satisfied. So this blank will not be printed. So yes, we can put such conditions in this way. Next is explain the switch case, how it works and what object types can be used in the switch clause. So the switch clause provides several execution paths with case and default case, and types it takes as switch values like byte, sort, char, int, and their wrapped versions, including enums and strings, right? So byte, sort, char, int, and their wrapper versions, and including enums and strings. So example, so int year of working experience equals to 8. Then switch, we are passing this uh, variable years of working experience. So next we are putting this case 0. So uh, it will print like system out dot println fresher, then break case 1. then system.out.println junior developer, then break. Case 2, system.out.println developer. So this will get executed, then break. Then case 3, senior developer, and then team lead. So we are just we are just provides we have provided several execution paths here with many cases, and also one default also there like team lead. So which condition will be satisfied, that thing will be printed, right? So there are four possible cases and one default cases here we have jotted down. Clear? So this is basically the switch case. How it works: switch statement evaluates each case expression for matching the value of variable that it is having, then executes all the statements that are written inside that case if that case is matched. After executing the case, we write break so that the execution will break there and exits the switch statement. And if the none of written cases are matched, then the default block will get executed. Okay. So if no cases will be matched, then at last default thing will be executed and it will be printed, default block, right? What if we do not write the default block in switch statement? So when none of the case will be matched, then nothing will get executed since default block is not there, right? So if we will not put any default block, then as the other cases will not match. So then the default thing also absent there. So nothing will be executed. Clear? What will happen when we forgot to put break statement in case clause? So in such case, it will continue executing all the cases which are written after that until the break statement not found or until the end of switch statement. So switch year of work experience. So case 0, system out.println fresher, then break. Case 1, then junior developer, then senior developer, then again break. So until the break statement not found or until the end of switch statement, it will execute all the cases, right? What if we put the default block in between the case levels? So we can put the default block anywhere. Compiler will not raise any error, but the best practice is we should always write the default block at the end as it will be better for readability. So if any other programmer will see your program, then it will be easy to understand that these are the cases, and after that you have written the default block. Clear? What is more preferable to use, switch over if else or if else over switch? So the if else statement is used when we need to check ranges of values or multiple conditions. Like suppose here exercise class. Now value is 10. We are checking that this number is even or odd. So for this case, if else will be fine, right? So if it will be divisible by 2, then the remainder will be 0, and then we will print the number is even. Otherwise, number is odd. But for the switch case, when we need to test a single variable against many single values, right? So suppose int years of work experience is 1. So then we are putting the switch and here we are passing the years of working experience. So case 0, system out.println fresher, then break. In this way 2, system out.println developer, senior developer, team lead, in this way. So basically, when there will be some, we need to check the ranges of value or multiple conditions, then we will use the if else. But when we need to test a single variable against many single values, okay, you can see, right? When we will check the single variable against many single values, then we will use the switch case, right? Here we are checking the years of experience. Okay, this is the single variable with multiple values like fresher or developer or senior developer, like that, right? Cool. So what types of loops present in Java? So there are for loop, okay, then while loop, then do while loop. Most of the programming language has these three loops: for loops, do while loops, and while loops. Okay. So first of all, for loop, so it provides a way to iterate over a range of values. We use for loop when we know in advance that how many times a task is going to be repeated. So we need to predetermine for that. We It will be known to us that how many times we need to repeat the same task. Then we will use the for loop. So first of all, in the for loop, the initialization will be there, then the condition, and then the incrementation or decrementation. And then we will write some codes. Like here, for int I equals to 0, this I has been initialized. Then we are putting the conditions that I is less than 10 or not. We are checking the condition. And after that, we are incrementing this. So initialization, condition, and then incrementation or decrementation. And then we are printing something here. Okay. So what if we do not put the condition in for loop? So if we do not put the condition, the loop will execute for infinite times since we did not provide any condition, and by default it will take true for that. So like here, so int I equals to 0, then semicolon, then nothing is there, and I plus plus. So first of all it will take 0, then the value will be incremented to 1, then again I equals to 1, then 2, like 1, then 2, then 3, then infinite times. But here, as we have put the conditions less than 10, so from 0 to 9, it will be executed. So through this, we have limited a range. Okay. Otherwise, it will be infinite times and memory will be exhausted for that. So what if we do not put the incrementation argument in for loop? So if we do not increment the value, then I will remain 0 always and will get printed for infinite times. So like I equals to 0, 0 is always 10. Again, it will check I equals to 0 or not. We have not incremented or decremented. So I again 0. So 0 is again less than 10. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 infinite times it will be printed. Next is, what if we put break statement inside the for loop? So in such case, the loop will get terminated. So whenever we will put the break, the case will be terminated. When we will put the continue, the case will be proceeded, like that. Next is while loop. So this loop is used to iterate a part of the program several times. We use while loop when the number of iteration is not fixed. When the number of iteration is fixed, then we will use the for loop. But when the number of iterations is not fixed, then we will use the while loop. So we put only condition as argument with while, like here I equals to 10 and while I greater than 1. This is the condition. Then we are just printing the value, and then again we are here decremented. Otherwise you can increment the other as well. Here we are incrementing I, right? So I equals to 10. So 10 greater than 1. Okay. and we have printed the 10 as I equals to 10. Then we are incrementing like 10 equals to again 10 plus plus means 11, so 11 equals to greater than 1, so it will be also incremented. So here you can decrement. So first of all, 10. So 10 is greater than 1. Then 10 will be printed. Then decremented. So 10 will become 9. 9 greater than 1. 9 will be printed. In this way, in the same way, like 2 will be greater than 1. When it will come as 1, 1 is not greater than 1. So 1 will not be printed. Right? So 10 to 2, in this way, it will be printed. Right? Next, do while loop. So this loop is a variation of the while loop where the condition is evaluated at the bottom of the loop. Do while guarantees that the code will execute at least one. So this is the variation of the while loop only, and the condition is evaluated at the bottom of the loop. So first of all, the statements will be executed, and next it will check the condition. So though the condition will not match, but at least once the code will be executed. Okay, so for that reason we use a do while. What is enhanced for loop? So the enhanced for loop is designed to iterate through all the elements of any collection, enum or array. Okay, to iterate through all the elements of any collection, enum or array. So like here for data type var, then colon collection. So we will iterate all the elements of the collection. Okay, and then statements to be executed. Except the arrays, which type of objects we can iterate over using the for each loop. So we can iterate any object with this loop, for each loop. So which implements the iterable interface. For example, lists, set, and all other collections. Okay, so all kinds of collections we can, or all kinds of objects with the for each loop we can iterate, and this implements the iterable interface. What are the difference between the classic for loop and for each loop? So for each loop is used to loop over a container like collection, array, list, like that. So which must implement the iterable interface. And there is no such requirement for the traditional for loop. But for loop is present from the start in Java, whereas the for each loop was added in the Java in 1.5 version. So enhanced for loop always executes in sequence. The counter is incremented by 1, whereas for loop we can change, like we can customize this, like we can do some incremental step or decremental step as per our requirement, like more customized it is. But enhanced for loop means for each loop executes in a sequence, so it is increased by 1. So for each loop can iterate only in incremental order, but in traditional for loop we can also iterate in decremental order as well by writing I minus minus in step counter. We don't have the access to array index in the for each loop while iterating, so we cannot replace the element at the given index, whereas using for loop we are allowed to replace any element in the array by its index. So through this you can understand that classical for loop is more customized nature, like, and for each loop is like robotic nature. So you have turn on the switch and it is automatic, like counter is increased by 1, incremental order only we can do, we cannot access the array index. Okay, but through the for loop we can do anything, we can do the incremental order as well as the decremental order. We also can access the array index. Okay, so these are the differences. Okay, so how the for each loop is different from the for each method? So enhanced for loop or for each loop iterates over the collection objects or the objects which implements the iterable interface. So this is just the enhanced version of the for loop. but for each method is introduced in the Java 8 and in the interface iterator as a default method. Right? So you can iterate over any collection by passing the lambda expression as argument, right? So again, I am repeating. So enhanced for loop or for each loop basically iterates over the container like collection of objects. Okay, like list sets like that, and whichever implements the iterable interface. That type of collection objects we can iterate, and this is just the enhanced version for the for loop. But for each method is basically the means introduced in the Java 8 and in the interface iterator as default method. It has been introduced interface iterator as a default method. So we can iterate over any collection, right? By passing the lambda expression as argument. Okay. So that's the for each method. Okay. So what are the various transfer statements used in Java? So there are six language constructs for transferring control in Java. So first one is break. So this statement is used to terminate the current loop or flow. So right? Whenever you drive the car or drive the bike, so when you will push on the brake, then the car or bike will stop. In the same way, whenever here you will use the brake, then the flow will be stopped. Current loop or flow will be stopped. Okay. Continue. Continue is like the accelerator. Okay. So it will use to stop the execution the loop for the current iteration only. But it will be continued like the next the iteration will be started again. So it will just stop the execution in loop for the current iteration only. Next is return. So this statement stops the execution of a method and transfer the control to the caller. Okay. So break statement is used to terminate the current loop or flow. Continue will stop the execution in the loop for the current iteration only. And return stops the execution of a method and transfer the control to the caller. Next, try catch finally is there, throw is there, assert is there. Okay, so like that. So we will cover more topics in the next lecture and uh, in the ongoing sessions as well. So do like, share, and subscribe. Support us. Thank you for everything. And if you have any questions and anything to discuss, like you can just comment down in the comment section. Thank you.